they'll ask you to do.
Oh yeah, that's what I tried when I got to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Then if you do that, then you're not the one experiencing it anymore. You're lost. It's not you. You became somebody else to do that, and then you start getting this weird feeling about that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I've been a part of things where it's like I don't feel like this is me, and it's because I wasn't choosing it. It wasn't me choosing it. So then, of course, it's not going to be me that shows up to it every day.
No,
that's a fascinating note for anybody. And this could be a relationship, a job, anything you're in. If you're wondering why something doesn't feel right all the time or doesn't fit, or you're not showing up the same way that feels comfortable to you, it's because of that very reason right there.
Yeah, because desire can come from a lot of things. It's not always internal. Sometimes it's like, I've been told I want this, or this feels like this might get me out of where I am.
This seems like what I should be doing.
Yes. Or it might be a step that feels right to me. I've seen other people do that. Or sometimes it's just like, maybe this will get me out of my misery. Maybe this will change everything. That kind of thing. But the thing you got to ask yourself is am I being Theo when I take this step forward? Like, what would he do? And if it looks so good, but you're like, that ain't me, man. You say to yourself, yeah, but it's okay because I'll take that step and then there'll be another me step past that. But there's no more you. Like, if you take one step that's not you,
right,
you have nowhere to put the next foot. It's not you anymore. You're
not
like,
your yard.
You're not nowhere. But if you take a step that's like, this seems like a bad idea. This is hard. Nobody likes this. But it's me, man. What am I going to do? Then when you take that step, the great thing is no matter what comes at you, all you got to do is lift your foot and plant it again. You're still you. You get you through hard times, and it'll keep you available for good times as yourself.
Wow.
You know, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. All that stuff, it's got a gross side to it. But if you're yourself, again, if you can be yourself in it, you can observe it. You can find love there. There's love everywhere. So you can find friends and you can find interesting things. You know, if you're in an award show, there's people working the cameras and stuff. And like a lot of them were people I knew from like Conan, like crew members. So I'd be at an award show going like, I shouldn't be here. And then I'd see, you know, a guy like, hey, and I go like, hey, there's love there, you know?
Yeah.
Or a weird actor I worked with on something a long time ago. And he's, you know, there is people you can find a loving and a self path through anything. But if you depend on, if you're like, I won't feel good if I'm not a Hollywood A-lister, you might as well fucking pack it in. It's not a good way to live.
Yeah, man. It's so interesting to hear some of that, because I've had spots even in the past couple years of my life where I chose to do certain things, and I'm like, I know this doesn't feel right, but I feel like I need to do it for money, or I feel like I need to do it for... And once I got out of some of that, everything has fallen so much more into place. I've gotten my semblance of human. Like, I just feel like myself more again. Yeah. It's been pretty fascinating.
Good.
When it comes to like love in your life, has that been a tough thing? I find like as a comedian, like I get so analytical about stuff. And obviously we were talking a little bit about how like getting into emotional spaces can be like a real, you know, that can be like a real... it can be a tough space sometimes for comedians. Yeah. Has it been, sometimes I notice even with like being in love or something like that, I'll be analyzing it so much. It's hard for me to actually be in the feelings.
Yeah.
Cause I'm like, it's like to be in the feelings, you almost have to let go of some control kind of.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You know? And so have you had experiences like that in your life? Has it been kind of tough, or what's that kind of been like? Because I know you've been married and you've been a parent.
Married, yeah. I've got 2 kids. That's a different kind of love. That's a love you just have. It's like you can't choose that.
Was that hard for that? Because sometimes I fear that like, because love seems so negotiable sometimes, I think because it was like that when it felt like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That I worry that it's going to be like that if I'm a parent.
How is it negotiable when you're a kid? You mean conditional? You mean like it can go away if you don't do the right thing or something? What do you mean?
Yeah, I think like if you don't, if you're not like, I don't know, if you're not something, then you don't deserve something, you know, or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I have a dog. Do you have a dog? I've got a dog, and she's like my wife now. Like it's me and her, you know? And my kids are in my life, and we have a great joy, but my dog's with me every single day when I'm home.
Oh, wow.
And I was with my dog once, and I'd smoked a little. I don't smoke weed very much, but I went to Washington Square Park and just bought some weed, and I think it was a little much.
Oh yeah, some weed makes people gay even.
Makes gay people even gayer.
Oh, dude, I've
never seen that. No, but I was like getting existential and weird, you know.
Yeah.
But my dog came over and sat with me, so I just kind of hung on to her, and I said to her, you know, you don't have to do anything. You don't ever have to do anything. I said, you don't have to worry. You don't have to try. You don't have to be sorry. You don't have to promise. You don't have to regret. All you got to do is sit there and just take the love that's coming at you. That's all you got to do is just be and just take the love that's just coming. And then I thought, I could say that to myself too. I could say that to anybody. You know? I mean, if you're willing to just be yourself and just sit there, yeah, it's hard. Sometimes you're just alone. Sometimes you're just lonely. Sometimes you don't find somebody. You don't find love. But once you have kids, it's a tricky thing with kids too, because you want to love them, and then you also got to let them go. You also got to let them depart your life. You got to let them. My kids are 18 and 21 now, 17 and 21, about to be 18 in a few months. But they start to, you know, and then it turns into a different. Everything that takes away from you you get another. It's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
So your kids aren't little, you know, holding your hand anymore. But you can watch a movie and make fun of a movie together. You know what I mean?
Right.
And talk about life and be friends. And that's incredible with somebody who you used to wipe her little face, you know, and now you're laughing at a fucking shitty movie together and talking about how shitty this movie fucking sucks. And cursing together, you know.
Yeah.
That's really something.
Oh, yeah. I want to curse with my fucking kid.
Yeah. You need to have kids, I think. I think you should have kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, that love with a woman, with a partner, that's a lot harder because you're both armed with self-protection and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think the thing, you got to be willing to just try it and fail. It has to be okay for you that if it doesn't work out, because it usually doesn't. I think it should be okay with people that you combine with somebody and you try and a bunch of stuff doesn't work and you fuck some and you have fun and you do something exciting like having kids together. And then when it starts to rot, you get the fuck out. It's okay. Just get out. You're done. Your dad did it. You just get, you know, my dad did. My parents broke up.
Vamonos.
Yeah, thank God my parents broke up.
Yeah,
thank God.
That's a great point, huh? Sometimes I romanticize things to the point where if I were able to look at the reality of it, I would see that it's a fucking nightmare, you know? But I can't get there sometimes in my head because I get stuck so much in the romanticization.
Well, because your feelings run a lot of your life. And you can't reason with them.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Who
made them?
I don't know. I don't know who the fuck is inside. I don't know. It's a big fucking mystery. But you can't. You're in a thing with somebody, especially young. I don't know. It gets easier when you get older. Mm-hmm. Like now, when I meet somebody, if I'm starting to get romantic with somebody when there's conflict, I just go, "Yeah, I can't. We don't need to do that, do we?" Like you get to it quicker,
right?
Then when you're younger, you start having you're like playing Battleship where you can't see each other's boards.
You're driving past each other's house. You put a Nair in each other's shampoo. I put Nair in a girl's shampoo in college.
Did?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my God.
Fucking pretty awesome. Yeah, dude. Those are the days, cuz we had to do it. And she still tries to hook up with me these days.
You know, by the way, there's a bit of yours in that first album that has a potential. You touched on something and a great idea for a bit, and you didn't finish it.
Yeah,
I've heard a few comics do that. You know,
You're
talking about farts, and first of all, you have a take on it I've never heard, which is you say, "I hate farting." I've just never heard anybody say that.
Yeah,
I hate farting. But at the end of the bit, you say sort of to yourself, you go, "We gotta beat him. We got to beat farts. We got to beat them." And you just sort of say it a few times. We got to beat them. The idea of that there's a cure for farts is a fucking hilarious. That we need to find a cure. Nobody's even thinking about curing farts.
That's unbelievable,
what if we could come up with
isn't
a
it?
cure for farts? That's a great. I mean, that to me, that's like I want you to go there. But
no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, you had some cool material about that last night, man. Dude, there's so many.
Jokes, yeah.
You don't give me a chance. It's like that's why I'm like, do I have to go back and watch it again because I don't even have before I'm processing shit. I'm like so far into the fucking fun house. There's like a disabled man eating my ass, dude, and I'm trying to fucking order a Reuben. It's like I literally don't even know what's going on, dude.
Maybe I'm going too fast. Maybe I should go. Slow down.
I do want to talk about 4th of July, man.
All right.
I'm in recovery. I got like 8 months, so
Okay, good
it
for
was.
you.
Thank you. And it was nice for me to just see those guys, you know, and just like a part of it that people don't like, like Joe's sponsor calling him. Sorry. No worries. Take a moment.
Water down the wrong pipe.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Yeah.
When water tries to like fuck our lungs.
No, you can die.
Oh yeah, if you get a lot.
Well, I mean, it's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It's really all the comfort you have that you're alive. You could just squeeze put a little bit of water. Like it's probably this much water. And it's like, I'm dying now.
Dude, if I have tuna fish, because a lot of times, when you're coming up, you have to cook in your hotel room in the,
Yeah.
So I'd mix like tuna and stuff in
A hot plate or something? Or?
no, just in a styrofoam cup.
Okay.
And then, but if I had Gatorade, electrolytes, and tuna,
Yeah.
my throat would shut down and I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Some crazy reaction. So,
Whoa.
yeah, one time I was fucking losing. I called 911. I mean, I'm losing it. It was the
Yeah.
first time that it happened. I got really scared and I went up to this, not a maitre d'. What's the lady that helps clean the room, clean the hotel?
Definitely not a maitre d'.
Yeah, what is
You
it?
mean the maid? Like
Maid.
the
Maid.
cleaning lady. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, or maid. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went up to her and I'm like, fucking, trying to
Wow.
fucking do like this, and Gatorade, fucking tell her what had happened.
Like fish and Gatorade?
Oh, bro. And I remember literally putting my fingers in my throat and fucking holding it open enough so I could breathe. Like,
Wow.
but it's just when that pipe, it's like the littlest thing, man.
No, man, you're gone. That's why waterboarding works. You could go like this, and I'll tell you everything.
Oh.
Forget it.
The movie was so great. Can I ask you, how much does it cost to make a movie like this? And I know you said it was more during the pandemic.
It's way too much.
Okay.
It was like something like $2 million.
Okay.
Which that movie shouldn't have cost that much. But there's two reasons. One was the pandemic, because it was like 30% more. Everything cost 30% more.
Right.
And then the other thing was that I was coming back I hadn't filmed anything in a long time. And because the pandemic had happened, and I just wanted to really enjoy it. I wanted to really make a movie and not worry about it. Low budget movie just means you're dragging your balls on the gravel. And it's just every single thing you do is hard. And everybody around you is stressed out because nobody's getting paid enough and you're working bad hours and stuff. I just didn't want to do it. I just wanted to so we did a comfortable version of it. It still was very low budget. That's still very low for a
4th of July
feature movie. Sorry? Yeah.
Yeah.
But and also we shot in this house. That was the biggest expense probably was the house, because we had to I couldn't make the movie unless that house was the exact right kind of a roomy log cabin. It had to be on a lake, and it had to be in a place that felt like Maine. It was actually in upstate New York on Lake George, and that was a place that's willing to be rented as a house. So there's like a list usually of location people that put themselves out there as were available. None of them worked. So I had to have a guy. The location guy is a guy named Jeff Karen from Louis from my series. And I went to him and asked him to do it. And he said, I don't do that anymore. I'm retired. Like he has a whole other life. And I just begged him, and he came out of retirement just for me. So because he had to just go real estate listings and go hit the fucking bricks all over like Northern America, and go to people's doors and knock on them and say, are you willing to be a location? That kind of cold calling. It was very hard to find the right place. And then once we found the place that was willing, they could have doubled the price. We still would have paid it so it cost a lot. And then we put Lake George is in this little town where it's really expensive. So there's no hotel. So we had to find housing. We had to find like basically vacation homes for the whole cast and crew. And that was the hugest. Anyway, it's a long explanation, but
it's a lot. It shows how much goes into all that.
Yeah, a movie like that you should be able to make it for under $1 million. It's just people talking. It's pretty simple. I mean, we shot in New York City too, which is expensive. So for the first like 30 minutes of the movie, But there's a lot of ways. There's so many cameras now that have as good a sensor as any other camera. And the great lenses of the world you can rent, and everything else is rentable. And there's people that have film equipment who are dying to use it now because they overbought, and you can usually pull. I mean, the unions are strict, and you have to use union crews most of the time. So if you're really trying to make a movie with like a carpentry department and electrical and grips and everything, yeah, it's hard to keep the cost down a bit. But if you just do it with your friends with a camera, you could do it for whatever it costs to rent the clothes and,
Yeah, it's interesting. Once you go over that union line, once you get into like, that's when, once somebody calls their agent, you're fucked.
That's right. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's expensive.
Yeah, man. I just thought it was incredible. That moment, I don't want to give it away really, but there's a nice moment where the dad comes into the room with Joe.
Yeah. Towards the end.
Yeah. With the phone.
Yeah, it's funny because
it's so subtle.
Well, he had a whole speech that he gave.
Oh, he did? Y'all took it out.
Yeah, that was the kind of like the point of the whole movie was that he gives this speech.
That's what I was kind of waiting. I was waiting for that a little, but then I just accepted that it was just a moment.
It was weird because we did. So when we wrote it, it was all about this dad, even though he says nothing through almost the whole movie. He's totally silent. And Joe and his mom are just at loggerheads. And she runs the family, and he's trying to become an individual but be loved by her, and it's impossible. She's withholding, like your mom sounds like she didn't know how to love, So he's dealing with that, but you just see once in a while we go to these shots that are just quiet, private shots of the dad, like not knowing how to deal. And Joe has a big anxiety disorder that we kind of portray through weird filming. Good. And at one point we show that the dad also has the same problem.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I did, but I didn't.
Yeah, like he's kind of like an undiagnosed older guy he's got an anxiety disorder, but nobody told him, nobody told that generation that there was like a thing wrong with him. So he's dealing with that. And then at the end, when Joe feels like he's kind of figured stuff out, he comes in and says this thing. And it was this speech where he says, he starts he's struggling to talk because he's an anxious guy. He's socially anxious. And he starts telling him about, he said, when I played football, I was a lineman in high school and we were playing Brockton High. And he tells the story about seeing the quarterback and that he could sack him and win the game. But he hesitated and the guy lofted the pass over his head but he didn't. The pass missed anyway. And then he's about to kind of make his point and the phone rings. And he gives up. So he gets through the story but doesn't make his point. But we played it that way and it just felt I believed in it so much, and when we shot it, when he was the guy who was acting it, Bob Walsh, we were all crying. Everybody was crying. Joe was crying. Everybody was. It was like, this is the thing. But then you watch the whole movie and you go, I don't want to fucking listen to this bullshit. Like, it's just stupid. And also so much had happened and so much we just want to get there. So I tried a version where he comes up and says, hey, the phone rings, and he goes, never mind. And for some reason, that got all of the emotional. That got far more. People watched that and they cried. And so, yeah, sometimes it's what you don't. A lot of times in movies, it's what you take. Anything you can take out and leave a blank, a space where like this almost feels like there's a mistake. There's a weird emotional reaction to that.
Yeah, I got that the dad was like, oh, here's a woman that cares about you. So you need to take this.
Yes, and that was him. He did that. I mean, the line is, that's your wife, but he pointed at it and he made a thing of it. That's your wife. You should take that. Yeah, there's a lot of meaning in that moment. And the thing I love about making movies is that I don't really know what the movie's about. The story just kind of comes to you and you sort of, it's almost like you're taking dictation. Like, I guess this is what happens. It just makes, you try to write it as involuntarily as possible. And then as you make the movie and you get to sit there and watch the shit happen, you go, fuck, this is what that means. That's why that happened. Like, you start to learn about it as you make it.
Yeah.
And sometimes actors get lost and you can, as a director, help them by talking about that. I think this is what he's trying. I don't know. And sometimes they know and you don't. It's like if you could do that with life, like deconstruct life and have all the dialogues between your family members in front of you, but just watch as a spectator.
Yeah.
But I never feel like it's like about controlling it or saying you got to do this. You just learn through it, you know?
Yeah.
And when it's comedy, when it's funny in it, you know.
It was, yeah, I found it fascinating. I love the sponsor calling and fucking with the dumb lines. He's fucking like, oh, this is fucking retarded. But it's the shit that you need to hear that keeps you in a fucking comfortable repetition of like, okay, this is what I do every day. This is how I get through the day.
This is how I get through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe really wanted, it was important to him because I'm not an AA guy, but it was important to him to have it not be a typical AA movie where somebody always falls off the wagon.
Yeah. And get back on.
And it's very earnest, and it's all just how terrific AA is. He wanted to show that it's a pain in the ass when a guy talks too long and that somebody always complains the guy wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
And that when you get a sponsee, it's awkward. It's fucking, it's not lovely. It's like, what am I going to say to this fucking guy? I don't even like this guy.
Dude, there's a guy that I met years ago at a meeting. I don't even know who he is. He calls me fucking once every week, dude. And I have no idea what he looks like. I have no fucking clue, dude. And he drives me absolutely insane. But every now and then, I'm in a low moment or I'm in a high moment or whatever. Yeah. And I'll fucking, and half the time I take the call. What's going on? Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. That whole world's interesting. What was it like? So just real quick, you worked with Joe Rogan when you were young, right? When you were younger. Did you guys both start in Boston?
Yeah, we both started in Boston at the clubs.
And he was like a handsomest guy. Remember?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
I mean, Joe's still a handsome guy, right? I love Joe. And but was there any like? Because now, if you're like a handsome comedian, people are like, "Oh, fuck this guy," right? Because you can't have it all.
No, handsome doesn't help you on stage.
Yeah. Was it like, were people like that against like whenever he was starting out? Do you think?
I remember when I started maybe a couple years before him. So I was starting to feel like, established or in that little Boston scene. And then this guy, he started with guys like Greg Fitzsimmons and him came up sort of at the same time. Yeah. And there was a few other guys, Robbie Prince, he might have been after. But these guys were like new guys. They were the first new guys I was aware of.
Oh, yeah.
Because I had been a new guy for a couple of years. And so now these were new guys to me. So I was probably threatened by them, whatever. But I do remember feeling like Greg